Hello, everyone, and welcome to this short webinar about the Fundraising Management Certificate Program in the G. Raymond Chang School of Continuing Education at Ryerson University. My name is Christian Mehta, and I am the program or the certificate coordinator for this really special certificate in the Chang School. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to pay my respects to the Indigenous peoples, elders, and ancestors who stewarded and cared for the nature and people upon which Ryerson is located today. At Ryerson, we have made a deep and long-lasting commitment to truth and reconciliation, and I'd like to invite you to learn more about this work online and hopefully in person sometime soon. Now, I'd like to share with you just a bit of an agenda for the next 15 minutes. And then what I'd like to do is open up the floor to questions from you. So if you do have a question, on the right-hand side of your screen, you should see an area where you can type in a question. It's actually under an area called questions. And so please do use that as a place to post your question, and I'll be sure to get to it as soon as I'm done the formal presentation. So what are we going to learn over the next 15 minutes, or what am I going to talk about? First and foremost, I want to chat with you about why it's important to talk about fundraising right now, and what are some of your career opportunities in the charitable sector as it relates to fundraising. Second, I want to talk to you a little bit about what a certificate in fundraising management can do for you. Third, I want to go over the details about the certificate program in the Chang School, what it entails, the length of study, the number of courses, and the overall experience you can expect. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we'll go over questions and answers, and hopefully I'll be able to attend to them. Now, this is a half-an-hour webinar, but I can stay on a little longer for you if you have any questions. And you can always reach me. I'll post at the end my contact information, and I'd be happy to send you an additional and more lengthy FAQ or frequently asked questions document that may answer additional thoughts or questions you may have. So a career in fundraising. It is, at this point in time, a very important area of a career path for many people. I often say that a career in fundraising brings together both people's passions and interests and commitment to change, and particularly as it relates to charities. And overall in Canada, there are about 170,000 charities. Many of them are registered charities, which means that they are formally involved in fundraising activities. And of course, fundraisers bring the art and science of fundraising to the table to support the missions of these charities. In fact, Canadians give about $14 billion each year. And in fact, there are 2 million people employed in charities and nonprofits across the country. I often say that if you're passionate about a cause or an issue, there is a charity that needs you. And in fact, if you were to go on to a number of job sites, you'll see that nonprofits and charities are often looking for fundraising expertise, people who have not just experience, but training in fundraising management. And that's why it's so important to, and I'm so glad that you are here today, and so important to have this conversation with you. The infographic on the right-hand side summarizes some of the other interesting facts and stats about nonprofits and the social sector in Canada, and it was developed by Imagine Canada. And at the end of this webinar, we'll be sharing with you not just this link to the webinar recording, but also to these slides, which you can read in more detail later. So what kind of jobs can you get in fundraising? Well, I have to say that in my experience in the sector, which spans now over 20 years, I have held a number of roles, both back office, so to speak, but also forward facing. And the infographic on the right side of this slide points to many or most of the opportunities that are available with regards to job function, whether that's in program management or major gift giving, which I'll talk about in a moment, grant writing and foundation relations, marketing communications, research about giving and donations and donors, estate planning. These are deferred fundraising opportunities or giving opportunities, event planning and management, and also, of course, the very important piece around administration. I often say that there are really kind of 5 buckets of and streams in fundraising around program, service, and delivery. And what I've outlined on this slide are various job titles that fall into this category. Everything from database coordinator to project management to program coordination and managing, of course, the flow of giving. The other pieces around administration, human resources, and finance. Needless to say, in the charitable sector, these are institutions or organizations that involve people, and as a result, involve management and recruitment of qualified people. So there's human resources involved. Of course, finance. When we're dealing with donations, we're talking about money. So of course, there's accounting involved. Obviously, administrative support, office management, and another emerging area of focus is around information technology and data analysis. I'm going to get to that a bit later as well. It's a new course that we've developed. And of course, we can't talk about fundraising with the actual art and science and craft of fundraising. So there are many ways in which people raise money from their communities. And some of these job titles around major giving, stewardship, officer, event manager, and gift planner are some of the titles you will see as you're looking for work in the field, especially for frontline fundraising jobs. And then, of course, marketing communications is a huge part of the work as well, telling the story and making the case for a need to support an organization is really at the heart of the work that we do. And so the myriad of opportunities to support charities through graphic design, through public relations, through social media is huge and an area of great growth. And then finally, there are management roles as well in the sector. And this is a growth path and career path where you have many opportunities to take on increasingly responsible projects and initiatives. And so there are many titles, executive director, associate director, CEO even of foundations, COO of operations, that you may also find yourself interested in. Recently, there was a study conducted by Charity Village and the Portage Group outlining what salaries look like in the charitable sector, or at least fundraising salaries. And I wanted to share this with you briefly as an opportunity for you to see how growth in the sector has changed, or how salaries have changed over time, but also, the ways in which salaries are connected to seniority and position level. And as I mentioned earlier, there is a supply-demand issue with regards to fundraising talent. And often I hear from charity leaders that there's a war on talent, and that people are talented people are in high demand. And so this provides an opportunity with some entry-level thoughts on charity salaries as you consider a career in fundraising. And of course, this needs to be taken into context because it depends on your location, it depends on the size of the charity, at how these salaries look in those various places. So do take this with a grain of salt, but I wanted to share that with you because it is, as you can see, an area where you can make a decent living and get a great gratifying sense of purpose and meaning. So let's dive into what the certificate can do for you. I went on to a few job sites yesterday in preparation for this webinar, and I looked at about 10 job postings that featured and outlined the need and desire for professional training and certification in fundraising. And this one, the two that I have pulled out here, one from Covenant House and the other one here from a charity in Scarborough, Ontario, shows to you that this is actually now part of a growing part of the skills and experiences and qualifications set that many employers are looking for. So the fact that you're on this webinar expresses to me that you are not just interested in a job, but that you are investing in your professional development and education towards a certificate, which I'm really thankful for, and I'm grateful for your time on this. So I've spoken to many charity leaders over the last few years, and particularly the last year and a half as I have taken the coordination of this program over. And I have to say that most of the folks that I've spoken to, time and again, prefer to have candidates that have certification or have pursued professional development and education in fundraising specifically. It also counts towards your professional designation. In fundraising, there is a designation called the CFRE, which stands for the Certified Fundraising Executive. And it is a professional accreditation similar to what accountants would receive as a CA or CPA or CGA. And this certification this education allows for you to count educational points towards the CFRE credential, which is a really great unique feature of this program. And of course, having this certification, and if you decide to pursue the CFRE, certainly helps boost your salary negotiations, separates you from the competition, and I have to say gives you unique insights into the sector because you are learning from fundraisers in the field who also are educators. And then finally, because we're, learning is a collective act and you're learning from experts in the field, you are going to have a network built in after you've graduated from the program. That's a very unique offering. Very, very briefly, I want to share this little story about a colleague of mine now. Her name is Michelle Hounslow. She had a very fulfilling career in a completely different industry about a decade ago. And she joined the Fundraising Management Certificate Program, completed all the courses, and then had a great job at a hospital in Toronto. And several years later, joined the university advancement team of the fundraising part of Ryerson University. And now she's leading some very important fundraising initiatives for the university. And I asked her to provide me with a quote or a testimonial. I didn't prompt this, so this is directly from her about what she thought and what she said. And I really appreciate and have been amazed by what Michelle has accomplished after changing careers. And I'm going to talk a bit later about the kinds of folks that come into the program. And so Michelle is someone who's had a career in a different industry and joined us in fundraising and is doing very, very well. So Michelle, if you're on here, thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. So let's get right into the mechanics. First and foremost, you need to complete 6 courses in order to obtain the certificate. These courses are 13 weeks long, each 13 weeks long, which translates to about 39 hours of instruction time. And of course, all of these courses are available online. Now, at the time of this webinar, we're talking in a pandemic environment where we are looking at creating more opportunities for students to continue to learn online and on demand, which means that it's on your time. And so online learning is a huge thrust of the work in the certificate and offerings of the certificate. And until recently, we were also offering many courses in class. But the advantage is that you have the option and flexibility of studying online and at your own pace. You can certainly take more than one course at a time, And in fact, we offer multiple courses per semester so that it allows you to go through the program and take more than one course if you wish. You do not need an undergraduate degree. This is a question I get often as to what are the prerequisites, and you do not need an educational undergraduate degree from a university to pursue the certificate, which means that you can come from have a variety of backgrounds and skills that you bring to the table. We really value that. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, it's really designed, this program's designed to ensure that you can fit in everything else in your life that you need to take care of and are responsible for, and add in learning at your own pace and time. So there are 4 required courses, and I won't go through all of them right here in too much detail. I'd be happy to share with you more information. But if you go onto the Chang School website, there are outlines available for each of these courses which you can access, and it'll give you details not just about what the course is going to take up, but also the ways in which you might be able to access the readings and learning objectives for the various modules within it. The Introduction to Fundraising course is a degree level course, as well as the Marketing and Nonprofit courses. That means you'll be in class with students who are pursuing an undergraduate degree at Ryerson, and it's a great opportunity to be able to engage with students at different levels. That said, don't be afraid that this is an undergraduate course, meaning that you will not be able to keep up with other students who are taking full-time or pursuing full-time studies. This course is really about understanding the foundations of fundraising and marketing. That's CINT 916, which is available online right now, starting next week. And so please do, if you're interested, you may want to start with that one. And then Marketing for Nonprofits is also available online, but later on in the fall. Operations of Fundraising really takes a look at all of the mechanics of the fundraising organization. That's database operations, managing tax receipting processes, and other operations of the fundraising organization, which we must always take seriously. Donors expect us to have good and clear systems in place to be able to manage their money and to be able to distribute it in the manner that they intended and that we need them to. Donor-centered fundraising is a course that I teach, and it really takes a critical look at issues and themes that are influencing how fundraisers actually go into the community and raise money. We take up issues like globalization, diversity and inclusion, and new forms of philanthropy as well. And then you can choose 2 of the 4 listed here courses as electives. This gives you a bit of a choose your own adventure opportunity based on issues and areas, skill sets that you want to develop. Fundraising campaigns looks at major gifts and planned giving. Entrepreneurial fundraising looks at various other models of revenue generation in our sector. Annual giving looks at giving at initial levels where you can raise money through online donation platforms, through mass appeals in the mail. It's sometimes called direct mail or direct appeals, and also other social media forms of giving. And then, of course, a new course we're developing is on data analytics for charity, which is a huge and emerging area of growth and interest for charities. It analyzes what we know about our donors and how we know and what we can do with that information. It's a very great course on the horizon, which will be offered in the fall. So over the years, I've collected a number of questions, and here are some of them that I often get. So I'll just go over them quickly, and then I'll open it up. And hopefully, if you have any questions, of course, please do ask them in the chat function, or in the questions function here. And in fact, maybe I will be able to address some of these at the same time. So the first question is around the availability of classes online. And as I mentioned to all of you earlier, yes, they are available online, and they are 13 weeks in duration. They involve 39 hours of instruction. And what that means is that that can be divided out in about 3-hour segments, or depending on the topic and the assignments, could be spread out over time. But my experience and the feedback that I've received from students and instructors is that there are moments where they're a bit heavier because of assignments that are due, but overall that the courses flow in a way that allows you to manage your time effectively. We also give the syllabus in advance or in the first class, so that students can then take their kind of manage their time accordingly. A question that we often receive as well is around the order of courses to take. Now, there aren't prerequisites per se for this course. So in other words, you do not need to take the Introduction to Fundraising course in order to be able to take an additional course. But oftentimes, if students find it to be very helpful to take the Introduction to Fundraising course before they start others, to get a flavor of the sector, to understand what are the issues and challenges, what are the opportunities, and also what are some of the mechanics behind the fundraising, And so often students will prefer to take intro, but some students prefer to take other courses based on availability and then come back to introduction later on. And so that's something that allows you to direct your own learning as well. This spring, in other words, very soon in the next few days, we will be offering 3 courses, and I really would like to encourage you to take a look at a few of these ones, specifically the course that we're offering in annual giving and the course that we're offering in fundraising campaigns, major and planned giving. The third offering is, of course, Introduction to Fundraising, and there are currently 2 sections, and we're looking to open up a third, which is a very popular course for us. Registering for these courses is quite straightforward. You go onto the Chang School website, and you will be able to see a link to our program, and from there you can register for a class. You do need to complete all 6 courses in order to get the certificate. That said, if there is a course or 2 or 3 that interests you specifically and you do not want to pursue the certificate, you can still take those courses. If there's just an area you want to learn about or develop a further skill in, then that's an opportunity for you to just do that. You do not need to enroll in the certificate, although we like to have as many certificate holders as possible for that employer who wants somebody who has that designation or at least that experience. Because most of the students have other responsibilities in their lives, the duration of the program can really depend on exactly what's on people's plates. And so that's something that we want to take into consideration as well. Most students finish the certificate in about 1.5 years or 2 years. And that's I think a very good way to be able to get your learning incorporated into your day-to-day work. I'm going to move into the questions box specifically so that I can see if there's anything new here that we might not have addressed so far. Just going to go through this here. How many hours a week? I think I covered that one. So if you aren't looking to pursue the certificate, you will still receive a grade and a mark. This is a question about how does one still complete a course and have it count towards some kind of learning evaluation. And I think that's an important piece to outline here, is that you will still receive a mark and you will still have feedback and interaction with fellow students and the course instructor. I think that's something to clarify, and I'm glad you asked that question in here. In terms of in-person classes, well, we were offering in class learning opportunities or courses that on campus. And perhaps we will be doing that again. I can't commit to that at this point only because of the environment we're in, and I can't really commit to timelines specifically. But of course, fundraising is a skill and a craft that involves human interaction. And so, we are trying to find ways to be able to provide those opportunities within the formats that we're able to offer. So that's something that I think we'll continue to pursue. Um, we're almost at time, and I'm just going to answer a couple of more questions. Sorry, one second here. Around perhaps cost of the courses. The courses range from just over about $500 to around $750. And there is some variation in the cost of the courses because some of the courses, as I mentioned earlier, are count towards the degree program as well as the certificate program, which means that some of the course costs are subsidized from other areas. And so the certificate courses tend to cost around $750, give or take a few dollars. And those are listed on the Chang School website, especially when you go into the right-hand column of the site for the fundraising management certificate, and you'll be able to see all those costs there. The question around working full-time is also really important, how to fit this into your life. We're all very busy and we all have other responsibilities. And what we've heard from students time and again is that there are peaks and valleys in the year where they have perhaps a bit more time and energy to pursue the certificate. And so what we've done is we've designed the program and the schedule of the program over the year to be able to respond to that need and those time crunch issues that some students face. And so, really it is going to require you to take stock of what responsibilities you have and also determine how much space you have to take courses. We often offer more than 2 courses per semester, which allows you to, if you're going to be taking 6 and complete the certificate, which allows you in some cases to actually finish the entire program within a year. Now, most people work full time, which means that they're also, just taking one course or maybe even taking a bit of a break. But you have up to 6 years to complete the entire certificate, so there is quite a long runway. Although we do like to see students get through it and into that great job on the next in the next page of their lives. And students come from all over the place and have come with various experiences and backgrounds. So there are overall about 2 or 3 kinds of student types. Fairly new graduates from undergraduate diploma or degree programs who have maybe 1 or 2 years of experience in the field and are really interested in digging deeper into fundraising and charity involvement in charities. We also have students who are mid-career professionals who are looking to transition into a completely different realm that they and to marry their passions with career objectives, like my friend and colleague Michelle Hounslow, who I talked about earlier. And that we're seeing a growing number of folks who are really interested in pursuing certification after having some work in the field. And of course, this is just to get you started. There are many, many other opportunities that you can take up in fundraising. And this is also just in some ways beginning for learning. We really encourage you, not just in this program, but also throughout the Chang School, to pursue lifelong learning and to ensure that you are kept up to speed on all of the latest developments in our sector. And with that, what we've developed over the last few years is a very robust and active LinkedIn group where we've developed an online community of folks who are sharing best practices and tips and advice and job postings. And we also are always available, the instructors and alumni from the program to help you out and answer any questions. I'm going to cap off here with just ways you can contact me. Obviously, if you want more information about the program, you can also visit the Chang School website. That's my phone number there, and my email address, and you can always reach me on LinkedIn. So that brings us to the end of this webinar, and I would welcome any opportunity to connect with you to answer any more questions you have. Just send me an email and I'd be happy to send you the FAQ document as well as any specific questions. I can tend to them there. But for now, I hope that you found this webinar enlightening, informative, and inspiring, and I hope that you will consider joining us in the spring or in the fall for the certificate learning. Is a great opportunity to invest in your education in this area. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great afternoon.
Hey, Christian, thank you so much. That was an excellent presentation. Do you have time for one final question? I see here that I don't know if you saw somebody was asking about specific software that pertains to the industry and whether or not that's covered in courses. That was Mandy asking that.
Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, so yeah, sure, happy to. The software that there are so many different software platforms out there that fundraising organizations use, charities use to manage data and donations. And so what we do is we take an approach where we're providing people with the skills and the analysis opportunities, as well as an overview of some of the major ones in the operations of fundraising course. And of course, there is some software, very simple software that we ask students to use in order to practice with the new course that we're developing in data analytics. And so these provide an opportunity for you to be able to understand what the potential is for managing data and using data, as well as allows you to start to play with data and look at how best you can use it to inform your fundraising work.
Thanks, Christian.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Just looking at the question box here, I think we've covered almost everything. Well, listen, please do send me an email and I'd be happy to answer anything else you have on your mind as it relates to this program or even a career in fundraising. We can chat about that too. I've been in this industry for, as I said, just about 20 years and learned a lot and have spoken to many aspiring fundraisers over that time and have seen many of them grow and successful careers for themselves and do something that really has an impact on our community. Thank you again and have a great afternoon. Be safe and healthy.